Welcome to another edition of Talk of the Town, brought to you by National Media Services and, of course, the Royal Examiner. Happy to bring in today Gary Auerbach, who is all kinds of things, but we know him as the Frisbee Guy. Welcome to you.
Thanks, Norma. Nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. You are a pretty amazing guy, and I'm sure you hear of it all the time from kids, from your wife, from your grandkids, but you were the 1995 Freestyle World Champion for Frisbee.
Yeah, Freestyle Frisbee is like a combination of rhythmic gymnastics, martial arts, dancing, and juggling. And the 1995 was my year that I really took it to the highest level. I won the World Championships with a partner. You do a routine in freestyle. That was my first tournament in 10 years, so I had no expectations. You know, nobody even remembered me from 10 years previous. But we won the tournament, and it really launched my business of going in and inspiring other people to pick up a Frisbee.
So that saying, go big or go home, really worked out for you.
Well, it worked out for me. I mean, but again, it was such a surprise. Like my partner and I, his name's Brian McElwain. He's still a friend. He still lives in Toronto, Canada, where I did grow up and learned how to play Frisbee. Brian and I worked on a routine for a couple weeks, and we flew down to Florida for the tournament. We actually flew to different parts of Florida, and then we're going to rendezvous in Jacksonville where the tournament was held, and a big storm blew in. And we were thinking, like, we came all the way to Florida and there's bad weather. Let's just leave. So we almost didn't stay for the competition. You know, that was the truth, but it was meant to be.
How amazing, and it must have been so rich for you to have no expectations and walk away the top team in the world.
Yeah, well, no expectations. It was fun too because so many players were like, who are you? Like, where have you guys been hiding? And I had actually taken this 10-year break from competitive freestyle because I was competing at a young age, and in 1985 I had won the Canadian Championships with some other players. Kevin Sparkman came into my brain right away. And then I started a ballet career. So actually I started dancing at the age of 17 for one reason, and that was to improve my Frisbee game. But I had teachers who were very encouraging, and they said, you could do this professionally, but stop throwing Frisbees, because when you're on the ballet, you know, floor or in class, you can't look like you're on the beach or in the park playing Frisbee. So I had made a choice and danced in Toronto, New York, Europe, and South America. So that was a career for me. And then I came back to freestyle after also playing 4 times at the World Championships in Ultimate Frisbee. So Frisbee's my first love, let's face it.
That blows my mind. So you're in Canada dancing and doing Frisbee. Throw out the hockey. That's where you were hiding. You were hiding in Canada, not playing hockey. What an amazing career. And you have parlayed that, the Frisbee, and I imagine with your ballet skills that you throw the Frisbee like nobody else.
Well, they say that I throw the Frisbee like a dancer, but a lot of even Frisbee golfers, when you've taken that shot and the putt, okay, your leg is forward, your back leg is in perfect attitude, which is a ballet position, and I've seen so many great photos that, you know, there's that athlete-artist very close proximity, you know, where you draw the line. And I've seen great photos of great Frisbee golfers who look like they're on the stage for a ballet company.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's fast forward 26 years. You've parlayed that into Frisbee Guy.
Yeah, FrisbeeGuy.com is really my business now, and I go to a lot of schools. I do a lot of school assemblies, and that was really like the first thing that I figured out. Nobody offered me a big contract when I won the World Freestyle Championships. This was kind of before the X Games even, you know? So I figured out what could I do, and what I could do was visit with students in a classroom, first one class at a time, and then when they asked me to visit the whole school, like 200, 300, 500, 700 kids, even middle school kids, high school kids, it's like I have them in the palm of my hand.
I bet.
Because I show them things that they can't do, that they've never seen before. And then I flip it around and tell them how I got started, how I used to be afraid of Frisbees because I didn't know how to catch. And then I show them what they can do. And even if I can only get like 5 or 6 kids to come up at the front of the gym, or I don't usually do it on stage, I'm usually in the gym. But a few of those kids, if I can show them what they can do, and I never want anybody to fail in front of their friends. So I bring them to where they're still successful, and then they want to pick up a Frisbee again, you know. And I also ask them if they have an ultimate Frisbee team or a Frisbee golf team at their school. And when they say no, I tell them that all the other schools in the area have it, you know, because that's not true, but it could be.
It could be.
You know, and then if the kids ask for it, if that's what they're interested in, because let's face it, sports can be really expensive for a school system. And compared to, you know, another sport, you got an ultimate Frisbee team or a Frisbee golf team, you're talking keeping the costs down, and it's a lifelong activity.
Indeed. I'm thinking about all the money that I poured into hockey and football when my boys were growing up.
Okay.
Frisbee's relatively inexpensive.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned hockey again, and in Canada, I did have some friends who played on the hockey rink, you know, skating, and they were throwing Frisbees. And then a few years ago, I know somebody in New Jersey who was starting to promote Frocky, which was Frisbee hockey. They used a small goal, and you couldn't slide it in, but there was no goalie, but they had a little barrier, so you had to get it into a small target.
Oh, crazy.
Whatever works. And, you know, the original Frisbees, Norma, the instructions were play, catch, invent games. And when that came out in 1957, so what, we're in the 60th anniversary, actually, just last month, that Wham-O first, you know, promoted and marketed Frisbee as a product. But those words, play, catch, invent games, has turned it into, you know, Frisbee hockey, Frisbee baseball. Of course, Ultimate is the big game now played around the world. I think this close to an Olympic sport, and disc golf, you know.
Now, you were a kid when you first picked up a Frisbee, but you don't just do schools, you do camps, you do corporate events. Sometimes you work with seniors. I do
all that. Well, the camps actually, summer camps or youth programs or Boy Scout groups, Girl Scout, all of the above, they bring me in as a specialist for one day or for an evening. And I do entertainment and interactive activities. Corporate events, I've led people on you know, a Frisbee golf outing, but we've also had Frisbee golf tournaments. So rather than the traditional golf tournament, I call Frisbee golf not your daddy's golf game. Okay, so we can have people come to the Frisbee golf course, and they're all over the place. I'm not sure where the closest one here is, but you know, just in Stevens City has a Frisbee golf, Sharando, Jim Barnett Park. Down the road outside of Woodstock, there's a course.
We have a facility.
Harrisonburg.
I'm sorry. In the county, in Warren County.
In Warren County, there's a Frisbee golf course?
Yeah.
So I haven't played that one yet. And see, I'm not the greatest golfer in the world, and I know that, but I'd rather take people who have never played and help them say, I want to come back and play this again. And in disc golf, which is the real name, I like calling it a Frisbee because I don't want them to confuse it with a CD. You know, this is not throwing that kind of disc. You know, everybody's at an equal level when they start. So nobody's really good at it, which means everybody can have more fun. And that's really the, you know, the joy for team building and for a corporate event where people are going to have fun. Because if you're not a golfer, how fun are those golf tournaments?
Indeed, and
Just
it's a good team building experience. And so folks can contact you through frisbeeguy.com. Okay. And you brought along some really cool Frisbees that have shown up over the years.
Well, I'm going to show you the first one because everybody wants to know, you know, where Frisbee really comes from. And this is the Frisbee Pie Pan. So Mr. and Mrs. Frisbee baked pies in Connecticut 100 years ago, okay? Before my time, before your time, even before other people's times, right?
Indeed.
And so people used to take these and they would throw them. And when they threw them, this was in Connecticut, so all over New England, Frisbee pies were distributed. When people would throw them, they would shout out Frisbee as a warning, okay? At the same time, or not quite the same time, but before World War II, out in California, Walter Morrison, Fred Morrison is what they call him, was throwing around metal cake pans. And they would actually sell they would go to the park and throw them back and forth. People would gather around. This was before we had TV and the internet, of course, so they were fascinated by real demonstrations. And they would say that this is the toy with the invisible string. Okay, throwing it, it looked like it was traveling on an invisible string. They would then sell invisible string, a penny a foot. And when you buy 100 feet, you would get a cake pan. True story. When those guys came east, to try to spread the word of their cake pans, which at that point in time, I don't know if they were calling them anything, they heard college students throwing pie pans shouting Frisbee. So they went back to the West Coast, changed the name of the spelling from the IE to the BEE in Frisbee, and that's what we have today. And the original Frisbees were known as Little Abner's Flying Saucers.
I have heard of that.
You have heard of that?
Yeah, the Little Abner's Flying Saucers.
It's pretty neat, and just the concept, that it was a flying saucer. But now, I always say that they changed the name to Frisbee because people were afraid of flying saucers invading the Earth because of the War of the Worlds radio program.
Could be.
And all of the, the space race.
Sure.
Really, so you couldn't go to the park and tell your mom or dad that, there's flying saucers everywhere, I'm going to play. They wouldn't let you go. So they changed the name to Frisbee. Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Well, thank goodness for that, because now we have the Frisbee Guy.
We have the Frisbee Guy. That's me. This is really the Frisbees that I print on, and my logo. These are the old Whammo Frisbees, so they're nice flexible plastic, which I really think is an important quality, not only for the aerodynamics, but for the touch and feel.
Sure.
They feel a lot better.
There's nothing like an original Frisbee.
Hold on to that, Nora. Yeah, you see, does it?
I get to hold on to this.
I'll autograph it for you too, if you like.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
They bring back memories. Here's a couple others that I just brought from my collection. My official Snoopy Frisbee, which is kind of old school, different type of model. You can actually see the grooves in it. Very different than just printing on it.
Yeah.
They were experimenting with that. And then this is a giveaway from Ked's running shoes. I always tell students that 30 years ago when you bought a Ked's shoes, you would get a free flying saucer. And this, of course, has the jets in the back. And
I noticed that. Yeah, that looks like a hubcap or a flying saucer.
Flying saucer. It flies great, and there's little people who jump out when it lands.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. I brought one other one to show you, actually, Norm. Let me just show you this one. This is a very interesting design. You see that?
Yeah, that's really cool.
So it's two types of plastic, the outside, and then this part is like a drum. So what I like to say, and I'm going to try this right now, is that you can play the drum and play the Frisbee, and then finish with a drum roll.
Very nice.
Get it?
Impressive.
Drum,
I do.
roll.
I got it.
Great.
I got it. Well, I definitely want to see your show. I'll have to call and book a show.
Book a show. I do programs, small groups, small rooms, indoors or outdoors. And again, the real joy of it is that it crosses the generations also. One thing that I really love doing at family nights when I do a school program, and then I'll stay and do a free family night, is that I get the kids lining up, and 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, dads, moms, and we do relay races. So for safety's sake, I almost never let kids throw a Frisbee in my program when I'm present. I do the throwing, so everybody's successful at catching. And I don't want Frisbees flying everywhere uncontrolled. But the relay races, the kids love, the parents love, and then they have things that they can go home and work on. Remember what the Frisbee Guy did. Rather than showing them like things that they can't do, want to show them what they can do so that they want to keep playing.
Well, of course, and that makes a kid or even a parent want to continue on. I'm thinking when you see a yo-yo demonstration, and then you throw the yo-yo down and it stays, and you think, oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for coming by to talk about this. Now, I know that you have to go, but real quickly, you are working on a project with the Shenandoah Valley Chess Club, or at least you're ramping up.
I am. It's actually David Hubbard out of Winchester, Virginia. Is a fascinating guy. He has a love for bringing the community together around the 64 squares with 32 pieces. And I was like, what does that mean? And it interests me that he's doing this chess club out of the Hanley Library, and now there's a group out of Bowman Library. We want to spread it all the way down the Shenandoah Valley, up and down, so that there are, maybe they'll be all held at the library, but a chess club is where people can come and learn how to play. They have experienced players helping them. Kids are not shy about not knowing how to do something and then learning about how to do it. And they're holding their 3rd annual youth tournament on March 11th. And I think it's going to be really an exciting day because they're holding it at the George Washington Hotel. So kids are like, you know, as David said, we're moving the chess tournaments out of the basements of the community center. You know, and I was sharing with David, wouldn't it be great if we could hold like special events at some, you know, higher level places around town and up and down the valley. So, you know, at the museum or where it's really a showcase event. Last month they had a master chess, a chess master, what's that called? Grandmaster? Something like that. He came, his name's John Maxwell, that came to me, that's good. They did a thing in Hanley Library in the basement, which is beautiful though,
It
right?
is, I was there Saturday.
And you know, he went around a table and played simultaneous games with all these other competitors.
Nice.
And I've seen that before, but it really made an impression on the people there.
It is very helpful. I learned to play chess as a child, but mostly by playing with someone who wasn't very good, but I was terrible, and from reading the instructions and trying to decipher it. I can't imagine how great it would be to have someone who knows what's going on and over-the-shoulder guiding. Don't do that, do this, and this is why. That's invaluable.
Very cool. And I have an idea I shared with David about we could have a live chess board, so, you know, so where I'll stand on a square and with 31 other people, and then they could tell us what to do and remove people from the board. And it would just be a fun community
Samuel's
event. Public
Library right here in Front Royal, we have that.
You do?
Well, we have the pieces that are as large as children.
Oh, so, large pieces.
Yeah, so we could just put the children in, or people in for the chess pieces.
Yeah.
We'll have to make that happen. We'll have to talk to the Samuels about that.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's Shenandoah Valley Chess Club and Winchester.
I'm sure they're online.
Yes, they are. Facebook
we'll
pages and events.
Get that information up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for stopping by.
Hey,
Frisbee Guy, Chess Guy.
One other thing I want to mention, you know, the following weekend, March 18th, I'm screening a film at Hanley Library, and this is called Clown in Kabul. And it's about humanitarian clowning led by Patch Adams. Patch Adams will not be coming to speak, but his brother will be there. He goes by Wildman Adams, and his wife Alyssa Adams will both be there at Hanley Library in the theater downstairs. It's a 2 o'clock screening, and we're going to have, I'm going to lead a little discussion about the film, which is when Patch and his brother, and I think about 20 other clowns from all over the world went to Afghanistan to tour different hospitals and to bring joy and smiles. And it's a shocking film in some ways to see what the suffering that people are going through, but it's incredibly inspiring to see you know, a little bit of magic that happens when either you put on a red nose or not, or just bring music and bring clowning to an environment.
I'm sure it's a striking film. Patch Adams, his career, his work with in medicine, but also bringing humor to healing. What a film.
It's incredible. It's incredible. One last thing, I know we're going to wrap up. You've seen this Frisbee, right, Norma? You got to hold your finger up. Don't be afraid. Trust me.
Oh, how cool.
Isn't that the greatest?
Look how great I am at Frisbeeing. Thank you for doing this.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
It was so nice to see you. No matter what you're doing, I know you're always bringing fun and education to the project. So we will see you again soon somewhere.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. That wraps up this edition of Talk of the Town. We'll see you again soon. Take care.